office or to replace him. Bush, at the helm of a decaying economy, is currently suffering the lowest approval rating of his administration, which has some Republicans worried and opposition Democrats excited. Most of the major presidential aspirants have been spending flesh-pressing time in New Hampshire lately in anticipation of that state's presidential primary election, the first in the nation, on February 18th. Because the New Hampshire primary tends to weed out weaker candidates, it has a political importance that transcends the state's relatively small size. We've been spending some time in New Hampshire recently, focusing on younger voters whose registration figures have been dropping off remarkably in recent years. And here in the first of a series of Election 92 reports called Choose or Lose is what we found.
For pure political reasons, I need the help of the people in this state.
I never used to take an interest in this. I never even voted, but I went yesterday to register to vote because I want to make sure he doesn't get reelected.
I believe that together we can make America great again.
Because I live in the United States, that I abide by the laws, so I should have a say in what the laws are.
18 to 24-year-olds have the worst voter turnout rate. It seems hard for many of them to believe that their votes can actually change an election, when in fact their age group is 25 million strong. But unfortunately, only 9.5 million voted in the last presidential election.
People are being manipulated to see politics as irrelevant, even though that if just the kids who watch MTV all went out and voted, they could change this country.
We live in a political world. Love don't have any place.
In New Hampshire, if you're a local high school student, registering to vote can be relatively easy. But if you're an out-of-state college student, it's not so simple. New Hampshire is not only home to one of the most important primaries, it's also home to some tricky registration rules.
Some communities, you can go in and register and merely fill out the voter registration form. There are other communities where the local officials will require a driver's license, and there are still other communities that will require proof of citizenship.
It has been alleged that the town officials are being very tough-minded in the standard of proof that they are requesting for University of New Hampshire students. It strikes me that it is an overly rigid observation of the rule of New Hampshire law.
Check this out.
Enter Rock the Vote. The group is probably best known for its public service announcements, but in this election, members of Rock the Vote are taking a hands-on approach. They're rounding up students and helping them through the hurdles of the registration process, even to the point of driving them there.
All right, we are ready to register to vote in the state of New Hampshire, the town of Durham.
Because I just turned 18 in July, and right when I turned 18, I voted in my home state, Massachusetts. But now that I'm up here, I'd like to register up here.
And as soon as you get done, let me know, and I'll look at your card, check your birth certificate or your passport or whatever identification you have.
She doesn't have a birth certificate or a passport or anything.
If you want to, you can get an absentee ballot, and then you can vote in Massachusetts on the primary, but you won't be able to vote here.
Oh, I want to register up here. Well, I don't usually carry my birth certificate around with me. I don't have it with me here on campus. And when I registered back home, I never needed it there, so I just assumed I wouldn't need it here.
If students live out of their home state 9 months of the year, they have to make a choice between registering in their hometown or where they go to school. However, that leads to the issue of who's really representing these university towns.
There may be a little bit of a reluctance of local town officials to mobilize and enroll all of these students on the town voting rolls when their expectations are that the students will not reflect the actual political characteristics of the town.
Basically, we outnumber the Durham residents 2 to 1, so they're afraid of what we can do.
And to the extent that there is a message here from Rock the Vote, that message is, you know, rebel, take back the system, register to vote and get involved and show the politicians, the consultants, and the press that they can no longer take for granted the youth vote.
Election year 92 gets underway. We're going to take a quick break right now, but we'll be back with a look at the week. However, in the recession-ravaged state of New Hampshire, where the first political primary of this election year will be held.
And some of you are going to be eligible to vote for the very first time. Now, some firsts can be intimidating. For example, your first kiss, your first job, first time you shaved, or something like that. But those things tend not to affect history, but voting does. Hi, this is Karen Bryan for Like We Care. We're here in New Hampshire. Why, you may ask? Because in just 2 weeks, it's the first presidential primary. But the primaries don't seem to be concerning a lot of you because in the 1988 election, fewer than 40% of 18 to 24-year-olds even voted. Think about this, though. If we all voted, things really could change.
What you see here is the miracle of voter registration. Yeah, these kids are lining up. They're registering to vote. First, we get them on the rolls, and then later on, we're going to get them to the polls.
Enter Rock the Vote. The group is probably best known for its public service announcements, but in this election, members of Rock the Vote are taking a hands-on approach. They're rounding up students and helping them through the hurdles of the registration process.
And you're all set. You might want to just bring that when you're going to vote, all right? Okay. All right, thanks. Bye, Tana. Bye. I thought it'd be so much harder, you know. Everyone seems to make it out, to vote, you have to be 18. But it was really easy, and I'm glad I can do it now.
Kids are excited, they feel important, and they should feel important because we count just as much as anyone that's 60, 50, 40 years old. We have one vote just like they do.
I just went up there and I just filled up the little yellow paper. Just put down my address, my age. That's it. It's fairly easy.
However, it's not so easy to register in New Hampshire if you're an out-of-state college student. Many towns observe strict registration practices that often hinder college students from registering. Rock the Vote
Registration deadline, and for those of you in New Hampshire, it's only 3 days away on February 8th, so you better get cracking. And the rest of you should check out the deadlines in your own states.
Late filing a series of choose or lose reports on the first political primary race of election year 1992, which will be held in New Hampshire on February 18th. So far in these reports, we've focused on voter registration and the main Democratic and Republican candidates. Right now, we're going to take a look at the big issues this election year: education, the environment, and the economy. Here's Tabitha.
What issue matters to you most in this upcoming election? What one issue?
Well, I think the economy is very, very important, as well as foreign policy. The world's in a lot of turmoil right now.
Healthcare, AIDS, abortion, what else?
Child care.
Education.
The environment.
The economy.
The economy.
The economy always plays a big role in any election.
Here in New Hampshire, businesses like this have been closing left and right. The state is an extreme example of what's been going on all over the country. What we found is that the economy, then education, and the environment are the three most important issues to young voters.
Pretty soon, my unemployment benefits are going to run out.
They're not buying as much, they're buying the necessities.
People are really hurting around here, and I've noticed in tips that they're lower.
There are plenty of guys with PhDs out there flipping burgers at McDonald's.
We are in a race between education and catastrophe.
I don't know that we're going to be able to challenge and enrich kids as much as we'd like to if the money's always going to have to stem from the teacher.
My roommate is borrowing books from me because she doesn't have, money to pay for her own books. That's wrong. That's really wrong.
Before we blow up the world, let's at least fill it with some educated people. Some educated people.
I worry about the ozone. The winters get shorter and shorter, and I remember when I was young, there used to be snow piled up to, the windows of our car, and it never happens anymore.
Garbage is a big problem, and that needs to be addressed.
Like L.A. or San Francisco, and they go and you can just see the thick brown smog. I think up here we don't see that. I think when we know that it's happening.
There are a lot of serious issues to tackle. Now's the time the candidates are out there selling you their solutions.
Here, then, is my long-term plan to guarantee our future. First, trade. We will work to break down the walls that stop world trade.
Get tough on trade. Let's get off of using so much oil. Let's get off of using so much nuclear energy. Let's have renewable energy systems in America.
We need to invest in a whole energy and transportation system that doesn't need fossil fuel. And my idea is that if we make that investment, we'll create jobs and we'll solve the problem of the environment.
The environment is right up near the top. But you don't have a balance when you have someone in Washington say, isn't it wonderful, we just locked up 100 million acres in Alaska. At the same time, people are losing their jobs.
Create a job for every single individual out there. I can move this nation in the direction of higher wages. I know precisely what it is that we have to do. I'm not sure we're going to get it done in 1 year, and much more likely that it'll be in the year 2000 when we say,
My America 2000 strategy will help us reach that goal. My plan will give parents more choice, give teachers more flexibility, and help communities create new American schools.
In our schools, we need comprehensive health education.
to deal with not only the volatile issues of teen pregnancy and AIDS, but other basic education.
We will finance your education and you pay us back with a certain percentage of your income over a long period of time. So if you become an AIDS worker and don't make a lot of money, you know, we won't get it all back. But if you become a movie star or a rock star, we're going to make a fortune.
Lots of names, lots of faces, and a lot of issues. And this is just the beginning. Now it's up to you to decide which candidate best addresses what's important to you. And then it's simple. Just vote.
Another in our ongoing reports on election year 1992.